I join many others today in listening to the debate as we consider this bill, but I have a number of major concerns about this legislation. Certainly health care, as my colleague was just mentioning, it is extremely complex, extremely difficult for any of us to get a grasp on, and certainly for the individuals who have delved into this issue. Certainly, we're all concerned about the coverage of New Yorkers' access to health care. But if you said to me, let government do it, we'll do it more efficiently and more effectively, for me, that often doesn't compute. And the examples could be listed over the years with this year of ways that government doesn't do it best. And the overall costs, and I like to look at this from a state budget perspective, from costs, certainly the sponsors suggest there will be overall savings. Early assumption, the figure of $45 billion was just talked about. More recent focus that it may be more similar cost is what there is today. There's some others who've looked at this who would suggest that the cost could go not less, not the same, but even $140 billion higher than what they are today. So it makes me concerned that we are being asked to today pass legislation that there's not certainty or not close to clarity of where this bill might take us. If you look at New York State, I was looking back, the state budget when I first started in the legislature, 1993, $57.9 billion. Today it's $168.3. It nearly tripled over those 26 years. If we did this bill today, using the numbers, some that have been proposed by those who sponsor this bill, we could in one fell swoop double or nearly double the state budget to nearing or going over $300 billion. If we use those individuals' numbers who look and say this is underestimating costs, it could actually push the cost of state spending in total to over $400 billion. Those are numbers that are mind-boggling to me. Another thing is, I would suggest that if we come up short, this is based on a payroll tax of bringing in money. If we should come up short on the payroll tax, does this bill, or would it add more responsibility on the backs of those who pay personal income tax, sales tax in the state? Just to give you some perspective as we're throwing these numbers around, in the current state budget, $168.3 billion, we raised $59 billion from the PIT, the personal income tax, and around $14 billion from sales tax. That's $73 billion. Even the $91 billion that's proposed as a low amount, we would be adding in resources that would come to the state well beyond what the personal income tax and the sales tax combined provide. Another thing is, for those rates, we are unable to give any clarity. What rate would the employer pay, and what rate would the individual on our payroll tax, what would we be paying? That's clear now. Obviously, that would be difficult to identify, I'm sure, at this point. The one thing that is clear is it suggests that it would be progressively higher rates for those in the higher tax rate. So we tax the higher income people in New York at a higher rate, a surcharge that we have on them now. Federal tax reform is taking away some of the deductions and whatever that are going to leave them paying net overall higher taxes from being in New York. And now, if we pass this bill and create a payroll tax, those individuals are going to be paying, again, at a higher rate. Some have suggested with the first tax, they're concerned about higher income New Yorkers staying here. Certainly with the federal one, there's a lot of concern been expressed by the executive, by individuals on this floor. How does that impact those individuals staying here? Should we do this, that would be a triple whammy, which would give those individuals a greater reason to perhaps take their resources, take their business, take their home, and move it to another place. When I mentioned those billions of dollars earlier, 168 billion now, moving over 300, 400 billion, I've never used the word, in speaking about the state budget, I've always spoken in millions and billions. I fear that my successor, who is going to be as the ranker on Ways and Means, should we do this, the state budget is going to be starting to be talked about in the terms of trillions. I don't think that's where we need to be going as a state. I'll be casting my vote in the negative. Thank you.